The lights in the Galactic Council chamber dimmed as the emergency broadcast began. On the large screen, a reptilian face appeared. The scaled skin was dark green with patches of blue around the eyes. Sharp teeth showed as it spoke. "We have your diplomats. Do not attempt rescue. Meet our demands or they die." The transmission ended. The chamber stayed quiet for several long seconds. Lieutenant Samantha Wright stood in the back of the room, her heart racing. Just 3 days ago, she had been excited about her first assignment as a junior diplomat on the mission to the Draconid Empire. Now she was the only human from the diplomatic team who remained free. She remembered the moment it all went wrong. The Draconid officials had seemed peaceful during the first 2 meetings. Then, without warning, armed soldiers burst into the conference room during the 3rd session. They stunned the senior diplomats and dragged them away. Samantha escaped only because she had stepped out to retrieve documents from their ship. "This is unprecedented," said Ambassador Vreltox of the Iridian Collective. The tall, gray-skinned alien's voice was flat and emotionless. "In 3,000 years of Galactic Council history, no diplomatic mission has been taken hostage." "The Draconids were always unpredictable," replied the Elrosian representative, her blue skin glowing softly with distress. "But this violates all interstellar laws." Samantha stepped forward. Though she was new to galactic politics, she knew she had to speak. "I request permission to contact Earth about this situation." The council leader, an ancient Forgian with 4 arms and wrinkled orange skin, nodded slowly. "Granted, Lieutenant Wright. Your species is new to our community, but perhaps you have insights we lack." Samantha hurried to the communication bay. Her hands shook as she entered the codes for Earth Space Command. Minutes later, Captain Eric Peterson's face appeared on the screen. His vessel, the Frontier, was the nearest Earth ship to her location. "Lieutenant Wright," he said, his expression serious. "Report." "Sir, our diplomatic team has been taken hostage by the Draconids," she said. "Ambassador Green, Dr. Bennett, and the others, all captured. I'm the only one who got away." Captain Peterson's eyes narrowed. "Casualties?" "Unknown, sir. They used stun weapons, but..." She tried to keep her voice steady. "The Draconids have sent demands to the Galactic Council. No one here knows what to do. This apparently hasn't happened before in their history." Peterson was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled slightly, which confused Samantha. "No hostage situations in 3,000 years. Well, that explains a lot." "Sir." "Lieutenant, Earth has dealt with hostage negotiations since before we invented the wheel. This might be the first time humans have an advantage in galactic politics." Samantha hadn't thought of it that way. "What should I tell the Council?" "Tell them to stall. Tell them Earth is sending a specialist. I'm contacting Earth Space Command now to request a negotiator." The captain's confidence gave Samantha hope. She returned to the council chamber where the representatives from 12 species were still arguing. The Vorax delegates wanted to send warships. The Elrosians suggested immediate surrender to all demands. The logical Iridians calmly proposed abandoning the diplomats as protocol dictated for breaches of security. Samantha cleared her throat. "The Earth vessel Frontier has responded. Captain Peterson is contacting Earth Space Command. We are sending a specialist in hostage negotiation." The chamber went silent again, but this time with confusion. "Hostage negotiation?" asked the council leader. "What is this concept?" "It's a human specialty," Samantha said, standing taller. "We've been handling situations like this for thousands of years." For the first time since the crisis began, Samantha felt a spark of hope. Maybe humans would bring something valuable to the galactic community after all. Human Ambassador Joseph Carter arrived at the Galactic Council station 18 hours after the crisis began. His gray hair was messy from the rush trip, and his eyes showed lack of sleep. But his voice was strong as he addressed the emergency session. "Earth takes this situation very seriously," he said. "Our negotiation expert will arrive within 10 hours. The Iridian representative tilted his gray head. "Ambassador Carter, Our records show that your species has only had faster-than-light travel for 23 years. How can humans have expertise in a situation that has never occurred in modern galactic history? Carter looked around the room. The representatives of 12 advanced species waited for his answer. Some, like the four-armed Vorgens, had been exploring space when humans were still living in caves. On Earth, we have a long history of conflict, Carter said. Throughout that history, people have taken other people as hostages. We've developed methods to resolve these situations peacefully. The Vorax general, a tall reptilian with red scales, growled. The solution is simple. We attack with overwhelming force. The Draconids are cowards. And risk the diplomats? Asked the Elrosian, her blue skin pulsed with gentle light. No, we must surrender to their demands. Life is too precious. Carter shook his head. Both approaches have high failure rates, attack too aggressively, and hostage-takers often kill their captives, give in too easily, and you encourage more hostage-taking. The council chamber grew quiet. Lieutenant Samantha Wright stood near the door, watching closely. She had never seen alien species so confused. The council leader raised two of his four hands. Ambassador Carter, please explain what a negotiation expert does in these situations. A negotiator establishes communication with the hostage-takers, Carter said. They build trust slowly. They find out what the captors really want, which is often different from their stated demands. They look for ways to resolve the situation where both sides feel they've won something. The Iridian representative's face showed no emotion. Our calculations suggest a 97.8% chance that the Draconids will simply kill the diplomats if we delay meeting their demands. And what are their demands? Carter asked. The complete withdrawal of all Galactic Council presence from the Orient sector, release of 3 Draconid prisoners, and 5 tons of rare minerals. Carter nodded. Those are opening demands. No one expects to get everything they ask for in a negotiation. The concept seemed to confuse the aliens. The Elrosians' glow dimmed with concern, but they threatened to kill the hostages if demands are not met. Why would they not mean exactly what they say? Before Carter could answer, a message arrived. The council leader read it and looked up. The Draconids have sent another transmission. They demand an answer within 6 hours, or they will execute 1 diplomat. The chamber erupted in alarmed voices. Many species began talking at once. Carter raised his voice above the noise. This is normal in hostage situations. They're testing us, seeing how we respond to pressure. It's part of the negotiation dance. Dance? The Vorax general spat the word. There is no dancing in warfare. It's a figure of speech, Carter explained. What I mean is that this back and forth is expected. Our negotiator will know how to handle it. Samantha stepped forward. Who is this negotiator, Ambassador? His name is Kevin Murphy. 25 years with the FBI's hostage rescue team. He's the best Earth has. The council leader looked skeptical. And you believe this one human can succeed where the combined wisdom of 12 advanced species cannot? Ambassador Carter smiled slightly. In this specific situation, yes. Sometimes being new to the galactic community has advantages. We bring different experiences. As the meeting continued, Samantha felt a mix of fear and pride. She worried about her captured colleagues, but for the first time, she saw humans offering something unique to these ancient species, something they needed badly right now. Hope. Kevin Murphy stared out the window of the fast transport ship as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The stars shifted from streaks back to points of light. Ahead, he could see the massive Galactic Council station. It looked like a silver wheel with spokes reaching out in all directions. At 62 years old, Murphy had thought his days of high-stakes negotiation were over. He had retired from the FBI 5 years ago and was teaching part-time at a university in Virginia. Then the call came. "Never thought I'd be heading to space," he said quietly. Dr. Olivia Martinez looked up from her tablet. The cultural specialist had been reviewing Draconid history and psychology nonstop since they left Earth. You've handled worse, she said with a small smile. Remember that bank situation in Detroit? Murphy nodded. 7 years ago, 5 armed men had taken 23 people hostage in a bank. Murphy had talked for 48 straight hours, eventually getting everyone out alive. Banks are one thing. Alien lizard people are another. The ship docked smoothly with the station. When Murphy and Martinez stepped through the airlock, they found a welcome party waiting. Ambassador Carter stood next to Lieutenant Wright and several alien representatives. "Mr. Murphy," said Carter, extending his hand. "Thank you for coming so quickly." Murphy shook the ambassador's hand. His eyes quickly scanned the aliens. He had studied their basic cultural traits during the journey, but seeing them in person was different. Body language was a key part of negotiation, and these beings had very different bodies. "How long until the Draconids' deadline?" Murphy asked. 3 hours, Lieutenant Wright answered. They'd been sending messages every hour, repeating their threats. The council leader stepped forward. His orange skin looked wrinkled and tired. "Mr. Murphy, I must be honest. Many on the council doubt that one human can resolve this situation." Murphy had expected this. "I understand. But I've been doing this kind of work for most of my life. Trust me, hostage takers are more alike than different, no matter what planet they're from." They moved to a briefing room where Murphy and Martinez were shown all communications from the Draconids. Murphy studied the reptilian face on the screen. The Draconid leader called himself Sub-Commander Krell. "Tell me about their culture," Murphy said to the room. "What matters most to them?" The Iridian representative spoke first. "Draconids follow a strict honor code. They would rather die than appear weak. They're hierarchical," added another alien with silvery fur. "Lower ranks never question higher ranks." Murphy nodded, taking notes. "And these ones who took the hostages, are they official military or something else?" Lieutenant Wright looked surprised at the question. "Something else? What do you mean?" "On Earth, hostage takers usually fall into categories," Murphy explained. "Political terrorists, criminals seeking money, mentally unstable individuals, or rogue military units. Each has different motivations." The aliens looked at each other. "We hadn't considered that," said the council leader slowly. "We assumed they represent the Draconid Empire." Murphy shook his head. "Maybe, maybe not. Their leader calls himself Sub-Commander. That's not a high rank. And look at their uniforms. They don't match the official Draconid military images you showed me." A murmur went through the room. Murphy was seeing things they had missed. "I need to speak with them," Murphy said firmly. "Get me a direct communication line." For the next hour, Murphy prepared while Martinez and Lieutenant Wright gathered more intelligence. When everything was ready, Murphy sat before the communication screen. "Open the channel," he said. The screen flickered, and the scaled face of Sub-Commander Krell appeared. His yellow eyes narrowed at seeing Murphy. "Who are you?" he demanded. "Where are the council representatives?" Murphy smiled slightly. "My name is Kevin Murphy. I speak for the council now. And you and I are going to have a conversation." Sub-Commander Krell's yellow eyes stared through the screen. His scaled face showed no emotion that Murphy could read. "Human," Krell said, "your species is new to space. You do not understand how things work here." Murphy leaned forward slightly. "You're right, Krell. We are new. That's why I want to understand what's happening. Why don't you explain it to me?" The Draconid seemed surprised by this response. Behind Murphy, the alien representatives watched silently. They had expected demands or threats, not questions. "Our demands have been made clear," Krell said, his voice rough. "The council has 2 hours to agree, or one diplomat dies." Murphy nodded. "I understand. But before we get to that, can I ask if the hostages are being treated well? Have any been hurt?" Krell's head tilted slightly. "They are unharmed. We are not barbarians." "Good to hear," Murphy said. "May I speak with one of them?" It would help me convince the Council to take your demands seriously. The Draconid was quiet for a moment. Then he moved off-screen. When he returned, Ambassador Green was with him. The human diplomat looked tired but uninjured. "Ambassador," Murphy said calmly, "are you and the others being treated okay?" Green nodded. "Yes, we're all in one room, given food and water. No one is hurt." Before Green could say more, Krell moved him away from the screen. "You see, now agree to our terms." Murphy smiled slightly. "I appreciate that gesture, Krell. It shows you're reasonable. Tell me, what happens after we meet your demands? What's your plan then?" The question seemed to confuse the Draconid. "Plan. You leave the Orient sector. Release our people, deliver the minerals. Then the diplomats go free. And you return to your commanders." Murphy asked casually, "Or to the Draconid Empire capital." A flash of something, anger, fear, crossed Krell's face. "That is not your concern. Just trying to understand the situation better," Murphy said. "By the way, those uniforms your people wear, they're different from official Draconid military, special forces." Krell's tail whipped behind him, a sign of agitation, according to Dr. Martinez's briefing. "Enough questions," Krell hissed. "Your time is running out." Murphy leaned back. "Actually, I think we're making good progress here. I need to discuss your demands with the Council, but I'd like to continue our conversation after that." 1 hour, Krell said, and cut the transmission. The room was silent for several seconds. Then the Council leader spoke. "What was the purpose of those questions?" "You made no effort to negotiate the demands." Murphy turned to face the aliens. "I was negotiating, just not in a way you recognize." Lieutenant Wright looked confused. "What did you learn?" "Quite a bit," Murphy said. "First, the hostages are alive and in one place. Second, Krell got defensive about their uniforms and where they'd go afterward. And third, he's not a professional." "Not professional?" asked the Vorax general. "He leads armed soldiers." "Professional hostage-takers don't get rattled by simple questions," Murphy explained. Krell's tail moved when I mentioned his uniform. His eyes blinked rapidly when I asked about returning to his commanders. Body language says he's nervous. The Iridian representative stepped forward. "This matches some intelligence we just received. The Draconid Empire central government has sent a message saying they know nothing about this hostage situation." Murphy nodded. "So we're dealing with a rogue group. That changes things." He turned to Lieutenant Wright. "I need a direct channel to Ambassador Green's personal communicator, if he has one." "He does," Wright confirmed, "but the Draconids will have taken it." "Maybe," Murphy said, "but people overlook things. And diplomats often carry backup devices." Murphy stood and addressed the Council. "I'm going to make you all uncomfortable with my next move. I'm going to offer myself as an additional hostage." Gasps filled the room. "That is illogical," said the Iridian. "It's suicidal," added the Elrosian. Murphy smiled. "It's human, and it might be our best chance to save everyone." The Draconid ship was larger inside than Murphy had expected. 2 armed guards led him through narrow corridors. Their scales were a darker green than Krell's, and they walked with perfect military precision. Murphy had convinced the Council that entering the ship was the best option. As a negotiator, he knew that face-to-face talks were always more effective. Plus, being inside would give him valuable information. "Your weapons aren't standard Draconid military," Murphy said casually to the guards. "Custom-made." The guards didn't respond. They stopped at a large door, pressed a code into a panel, and pushed Murphy inside. The room held all the diplomats. 8 beings from 5 different species sat or stood in the large space. Ambassador Green rushed forward when he saw Murphy. "What are you doing here?" Green asked in a low voice. "Negotiating," Murphy replied. "Is everyone okay?" Before Green could answer, the door opened again. Sub-Commander Krell entered, followed by 4 more guards. The human negotiator has joined you, Krell announced to the diplomats. This shows how seriously the Council now takes our demands. Murphy studied Krell up close. The Draconid was younger than he had appeared on screen. His uniform had small tears that had been repaired. And something else. A patch on his shoulder had been removed, leaving lighter-colored scales visible beneath. "Thank you for allowing me to check on the diplomats," Murphy said. "As a sign of good faith, I suggest allowing medical personnel to visit. Some of your guests appear uncomfortable." Murphy gestured to an Elrosian diplomat who was sitting with her eyes closed, her blue skin pale. Krell's tail twitched. "We have provided adequate care." "Of course," Murphy said. "But having doctors visit would show your honorable intentions. The Draconid Empire has always been known for following proper treatment of diplomatic guests, right?" At the mention of the Empire, Krell's eyes narrowed. "Our demands have not changed. The Council has 30 minutes left." "I understand," Murphy said, "but I have new information. The Draconid Empire central government has contacted the Council. They know nothing about this situation." A ripple of surprise moved through the room. One of Krell's guards shifted his weight nervously. "They lie," Krell said, his voice rising. "The Empire supports our actions." Murphy kept his voice calm. "That's interesting, because right now, Imperial ships are moving toward this sector. They seem very concerned about unauthorized actions being taken in their name." This was a calculated risk. The Council had no such information, but Murphy needed to create doubt among Krell's followers. "Leave us," Krell ordered the diplomats. "The human stays." When they were alone, Krell moved closer to Murphy. "What game are you playing?" "No game," Murphy said. "I'm just curious why a sub-commander would act without orders from higher command, or why your uniforms had Empire patches removed." Krell's hand moved to his weapon. "You know nothing. I know that rogue actions against diplomats carry the death penalty in the Draconid Empire," Murphy said. "I know your guards are getting nervous, and I know there must be a reason important enough that you'd risk everything." For a moment, Krell was silent. Then he spoke more quietly. "They are planning to destroy us." "Who is?" "The Council," Krell said. "We intercepted communications about biological weapons designed specifically for Draconid physiology. They plan to wipe us out while pretending to make peace." Murphy kept his face neutral, but his mind raced. This was unexpected. Either Krell was paranoid, or there was something very wrong happening in the Galactic Council. "Show me this evidence," Murphy said. "Why should I trust you?" Krell asked. "Because unlike the Council species, humans understand what it's like to fear extinction," Murphy replied. "We spent most of our history afraid of each other, if you're protecting your people from a real threat. I want to know the truth." Krell studied Murphy's face for several long seconds. Then he nodded slowly. "Come," he said, "but know this, if you attempt deception, all the diplomats will die." In a small room deep inside the Draconid ship, Murphy studied the evidence on a screen. Krell stood nearby, watching the humans' reaction. The intercepted messages were complex. They mentioned species-specific targeting and genetic vulnerability testing. To someone already suspicious, they could indeed sound like plans for a biological weapon. "Where did you get these?" Murphy asked. "We have sources in the Council," Krell said. "Sympathizers who fear what the larger species plan." Murphy nodded slowly. "I understand why you're concerned, but there might be another explanation." Back on the Council station, Dr. Martins and Lieutenant Wright were working with the aliens to understand what had happened. "These look like research files," Martins said, studying copies of the same documents Murphy was viewing. "Medical research, not weapons." The Iridian representative leaned closer to the screen. "Those are from our biology division. They study disease prevention, not weapons." "But why target Draconid physiology?" Wright asked. "Because," the Iridian explained, 3 draconid colonies experienced an outbreak of scale rot last year. Over 2,000 died. We were developing a vaccine. Meanwhile, Murphy was carefully choosing his words with Krell. So you took the diplomats to stop what you believe is a planned attack on your species, Murphy said. That's different from most hostage situations I've handled. Krell's yellow eyes narrowed. Different how? You're not doing this for power or money, Murphy said. You believe you're protecting your people. That's honorable in its intent. The word honorable caught Krell's attention. Honor was central to draconid culture. The Council denies everything, Krell said. They call us rogue elements, criminals. Murphy nodded. Of course they do. But what if there's been a misunderstanding? These documents mention genetic research, but that could be for vaccines, not weapons. Krell's tail swished angrily. You twist words like all humans. Not twisting, Murphy said calmly. Just considering alternatives. In my experience, misunderstandings cause more conflicts than actual evil intentions. One of Krell's officers entered the room. Sub-Commander, we're receiving signals from Imperial ships. They're demanding communication. Krell looked worried for the first time. Ignore them. Sir, the officer continued nervously. They say they've received information about unauthorized action by former military personnel. Former? Murphy asked, catching the word. The officer looked at Krell, who seemed suddenly uncomfortable. You're not active draconid military, are you? Murphy asked. That's why the Empire claims no knowledge of this operation. Krell's hand moved to his weapon. We were discharged for questioning orders, but we remain loyal to our people, if not our weak leaders. Murphy saw the situation more clearly now. Krell wasn't an official acting on orders. He was a discharged soldier who truly believed he was uncovering a plot against his species. Krell, Murphy said gently, you intercepted partial information about genetic research, but it was research to help draconids, not harm them. The Council was developing vaccines for scale rot, the disease that hit your colonies last year. Krell looked shocked. How do you know about the outbreaks? Because I asked questions, Murphy said. The Council has been open with me. They're confused and frightened, but they're not planning genocide. Murphy could see doubt in Krell's eyes. He pressed his advantage. Let me bring Dr. Martinez aboard. She's a human specialist in alien biology. She can review the documents with your scientists. If she confirms their weapon plans, I'll support your demands myself. The officer looked at Krell. Sub-Commander, the Imperial ships are getting closer. We need to decide. Murphy held Krell's gaze. You acted to protect your people. I respect that. But what if you're fighting the wrong enemy? What if this is all a terrible mistake? Krell was silent for a long moment. Finally, he nodded. Bring your scientist, but the diplomats remain our guarantee of safety. Murphy felt a small surge of hope. This was progress. Not victory, not yet, but a step forward. Thank you, he said. This is the honorable decision. Dr. Martinez had been on the draconid ship for 3 hours. With Krell's scientists, she reviewed the intercepted documents about genetic research. Murphy watched as doubt spread among the draconid crew. The formula targets a specific protein in the scale rot bacteria, Martinez explained, not draconid cells themselves. One of the draconid scientists nodded slowly. This matches known vaccine development patterns. Krell paced the room, his tail swishing nervously. Outside, 3 Imperial draconid ships had arrived. They were keeping their distance, but had demanded the release of the diplomats. Even if this is true, Krell said, releasing the hostages means prison or execution for all of us. The Empire does not forgive those who embarrass it. Murphy had been expecting this problem. Hostage-takers always needed a way out, a path to safety. Without it, they had nothing to lose by fighting to the end. I've been speaking with the Council, Murphy said. They're willing to declare this an unfortunate misunderstanding. No charges for you or your crew. The Empire will not be so forgiving, Krell said. True, Murphy agreed. But Earth can offer political asylum. Your people would be the first Draconid citizens to live among humans, cultural exchange representatives. Krell looked surprised. Why would humans help us after what we've done? Because we understand making mistakes for the right reasons, Murphy explained. You believed you were preventing genocide. Your intentions were protective, not destructive. The room fell silent as Krell considered this. Then a younger Draconid officer named Vex stepped forward. Sub-Commander, the Imperial ships are hailing us again. They demand an answer in 10 minutes or they will board by force. Krell's scales darkened with stress. They will kill us all. Not necessarily, Murphy said. The Empire cares about its reputation with the Council. If we present this as a resolved misunderstanding rather than a hostage situation, they may accept it. Vex looked at Murphy with new respect. The human strategy has merit, Sub-Commander. Krell seemed torn. Murphy could see the Draconid was trapped between his pride and the safety of his crew. There's another option, Murphy said quietly. You could claim I tricked you. Say I used human deception to board your ship and free the hostages. You save face, and your crew survives. You would accept blame? Krell asked, surprised. If it saves lives, yes, Murphy answered. The Council knows the truth. History books aren't my concern. Before Krell could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Imperial forces are boarding at the lower deck, shouted another officer. They'd breached the emergency airlock. Krell grabbed his weapon. We will fight. No, Murphy stepped between Krell and the door. Fighting means everyone dies, including the diplomats. Is that how you want to be remembered? As the Draconid who murdered diplomats because of a misunderstanding. The word honor didn't need to be spoken. It hung in the air between them. Vex lowered his weapon first. I joined to protect our people, not to die needlessly. Other crew members followed his lead. Soon only Krell remained armed and ready to fight. What would you have me do, human? Krell asked, his voice bitter. Surrender and be executed. No, Murphy said firmly. I want you to complete your mission, protecting your people. The real threat to Draconids now is a diplomatic disaster that could lead to war. Only you can prevent that. Krell's grip on his weapon tightened, then loosened. Murphy could see the internal struggle in the Draconid's eyes. Finally, Krell lowered his weapon. Open a channel to the Imperial commander, he ordered, and release the diplomats to their quarters. Tell them they are free to leave. Murphy breathed a quiet sigh of relief. The immediate danger was passing, but the most delicate part was still to come. Explaining everything to the Imperial forces without triggering violence. Thank you, Murphy said. Now let me help you find the right words to say.